What's up? It's Dave. It's Duncan. Back.
It's like there used to be a consistency in the intros, and what I feel now is it's just like Dave's just like there's a wheel of fortune behind front that you spin it, and you're like 3, 2, stop. It's going to be Cash Dave.
Don't like to repeat myself anymore, Duncan. What is up? Welcome back. We are back for another album review. For this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Norwegian noisemakers, Rat Lord. The band's new album, Blazed in the Northern Sky, will be released on August 30th via Loyal Blood Records. 2 years following the release of their debut album, This Is Not a Record, Norwegian trio Rat Lord are back. Based in Bergen, the band features guitarist, vocalist Yngve Andersen and drummer Sigurd Hakas, both from Blood Command, along with bassist Martin Green. The follow-up to the band's 2022 debut sees Rat Lord churning out the same gritty and destructive sound that received strong praise from various publications along their humorous lyrical content, this time parodying some of the most famous songs and events of the Norwegian black metal history. The album title, for instance, clearly nods at Dark Throne's A Blaze in the Northern Sky. So, not a band I was actually familiar with, considering they just had an album out a couple of years ago.
Considering we've interviewed him twice.
Yes, there is that.
Well, in the last 3 years, we've been in a room with him for longer than 20 minutes, shooting the shit and interviewing, and you would have thought it would have been like, shh, didn't tell the band, yeah. Or if you like this, check this out.
He's not about self-promotion, that guy, at all.
He really is.
Yeah, weird.
He's the least. Like his PR team must fucking hate him. Like, going to mention the new album? Nah. Like, remember and tell them there's a new album in the works? Nah. Like, promote your other stuff? Nah.
Yeah. I think he does have like multiple projects though.
Yeah.
Out with Rat Lord and Blood Command. I think he is in other various other bands and hip hop groups and all sorts. But
Bergen.
Yeah, both of us are big Blood Command fans, so this seemed like an obvious kind of album to check out. I was interested to hear what he'd been up to, or the two guys have been up to on this other project. As I said, I completely missed the 2022 album, so I had that to check out as well. But
which is I didn't do it, but it's an easy thing to do when your album is around the 15-minute mark.
Yeah,
it's time to go. You know what? I can do extra homework here. I can get extra credit on my review. I didn't do that, Dave, because I'm not a kiss ass. So.
Well, I can fill in on that note. Don't worry.
I was like, what would Yigney do? He would not listen. So that's what I'm doing.
You can copy my notes for this one. Yeah, I mean, like that album was predominantly leaning into hardcore punk grind, kind of power violence almost. And again, it's very ferocious, short, sharp songs. It's that kind of like get in, get out, move on to the next, no fucking around type thing. There was a couple of tracks on the album that were a bit like, what the fuck? Like some kind of like curveballs on it, like a fucking random banjo appearing, or some, like there was a track that had like this kind of electro kind of hip hop beats with occasional synths and stuff. But for the most part, it kind of did what it said on the tin. There was one track.
Not them if you're Blood Command, like, you know what I mean?
Not really, no.
That last album, I think they had every instrument was on it. So.
Yeah. So yeah, moving on to this one. What did you make? This is another short one, obviously. Like in comparison to the last one, it's pretty much the same, like short, sharp, 15 minutes or something. But 11 songs, so like plenty of songs, but gives you an idea of song length. What did you think? What did you make of this album from Rat Lord?
So you'd already given me the heads up on this instead of letting me go in ignorant, which I will do. I will go into an album completely ignorant of where they're from. Although I did guess Scandinavia, like when you'd sent it over originally. But then I was like, oh, Rat Lord, and you were like, listen, just letting you know, It's the creative powerhouse behind Blood Command. And I was like, cool. And then you will check the album artwork and you'll go, right, there appears to be a sense of humor going on here. Which is like it's almost like the film negative for a kitten with fucking like gravestones behind them. And the most like kind of Black Sabbath-esque sort of purple coloured font. And then the name obviously has that kind of twinge of a sense of humour about it as well. But it was short, sharp songs. We've just come off the most recent Blood Command album, which I've put like fucking 20 songs in it or something like that. It was an insanely long album in terms of songs, but not in terms of length. So I was wondering how much of that would transfer over here. And to be honest, there is actually, out with the players, there is a ton of connective tissue here, which is like for the eagle-eyed listener. You know, you're going to pick that shit out.
Yeah.
The big thing here, before we even get to songs, is the production, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, this dude, I'm assuming he recorded it.
Yeah, there's no mention of who produced it, but, you know, with his
That
background...
bass tone. Like, is there a guy walking the planet right now who gets a better bass tone? I don't know. Like, the Blood Command bass tone is maybe my favourite bass tone next to Rat Lord. The bass tone in this is fucking just... Yeah. It fucking slaps. It slaps you across the face and asks you to pick up the bill. It's just ridiculous. There are sections in this, I think it might be on Blazing a Northern Sky, where they have this fucking wicked riff. It's like do 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 do, and the bass is just like ooh, just sliding up and down, just willy nilly, free balling it, Dave, just like up and down, yeah, like, and it's so clear. This album has blasts. It has savage fucking hardcore riffs. It has pop. It has like pop choruses. At least 2 songs here. The longer tracks have like massive, like giant pop choruses. But like it's like predominantly like kind of gang vocal styled.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's all synced in. It's produced really well, but which in some respects should actually kind of take points off it for the style of music it's in, but I disagree like wholeheartedly. Like recently we've managed to review the new Godmother EP, which is savage as fuck, but produced within an inch of its life. And Ratlord are kind of like a similar beast here. It's like an album that has all that snarl, all that spit, all that blood and all that piss of punk, but it's just produced really, really well, almost as if the band were going one step beyond mockery of black metal bands using names, but like, you know what, we're even going to produce it well just to fuck with you. Kind of love it. You get it right from the off. North of Hell is the opening track, which like sets out a fucking savage intro. Now I'm saying it's like 40 seconds long, right? Which would be a fair assessment until you realise the first 10 seconds are feedback. So it's really 30 seconds long, right? So it's like, and it's right in about it. It takes no, like, there's no fucks given. It just grabs you. It's very, very, very quick. And I got to the end of that. I was like, right, cool. So it's kind of like the tracks that are in between the longer songs on Blood Command, just putting an album. I can live with that. I was being an ignorant slut there. No Dogs, No Masters kicks in. And the drumming is so fucking fast on some of these songs, by the way. There's blasts. Like, we're not getting around it. We, once again, without keep mentioning Blood Command, did remark that on that last Blood Command album, there was blast beats. More like, where did this come from? Apparently here. Right? Like, apparently, like, it's always been in the tank, and they just pull it out for special occasions. So No Dogs, No Masters kind of just continues the ferocity. It's a track that is under a minute long. It just progressively gets faster and heavier till you reach title track, which is Blazing in the Northern Sky. And this is where you get the first like semblance of this band could do, because of the members, could write all the hooks in the world if they wanted to, right? And you're only going to get a couple on this album, and as a result of that, they instantly stand out. They're instantly memorable, and they break up. They're so cleverly placed in the album as well that they break up the tone. Blazing in the Northern Sky is the one that's probably most like a Blood Command track overall.
Yeah.
I loved it for that because but it's like on the punkier side of it, and it splits up things really fucking well. Try to think of other tracks that like stood out for me. Now Diabetical. That's the one where I was listening to that and I was like, my dick was rigid with the bass tone. It's just so like that. That bass lives rent free in my head. But it's the one where I think like you were just getting like so much switch ups in terms of pace between blasts, like to just regular like kind of standard like punk sort of BPM. But they kept it switching up in a way which was really quite inventive. I mean, it's hard not to laugh at a track called Wotan Clan. I mean, I think I explained this to you before. Wotan is the original, I think it's Germanic name for Odin. Odin being the one that all the black metalers fucking spaff to. So it's so sassy, it's so funny, it's so two fingers up. Kind of love it. It's hard not to. But it's another track that is just so fucking intense and so fast and right for the jugular and fucking awesome. We mentioned that sense of humour. I'm the only punk in the village.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. It's as close as the band gets to sounding like... it reminded me a lot of... We had reviewed... I keep mentioning this because it's one of those punk albums that I remember listening to going, I like punk now. But that band Pears...
Oh, yeah.
Way back in the day that released their debut album after like 9 months. And it was all really short, sharp, fast, fucking great songs. I'm the Only Punk in the Village seems to capture a lot of that intensity. It's kind of amazing. Partly like it's 1349. I'm assuming something happened in 1349 that I'm not aware of in Norwegian history.
1349's a black metal band.
Is it? Right,
Yeah.
see, I am, unlike you, Dave, I am not acclimated. Well, 1349, I'm going to still assume something happened in history in 1349, but a black. And I'm also going to assume, Dave, it probably wasn't nice if you're a black metal band. It'll be something Viking, because that's about that era. It's there's a shady Beastie Boys on it. I fucking kind of love it. It's just really, 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 really cool. Album closes out brilliantly with By Sigridil. Which is once again just fucking two fingers up to all the black metalers and their own Viking heritage, which is kind of funny. And it finishes fast. It is very difficult. I found this specifically on the last Blood Command album. It's very difficult to pick holes at a band that delivers so much in so little time without really... They don't play a riff, you could argue, too long and at the same time not long enough. To me, it's the perfect time for each riff. There are certain tracks where, like, partly like it's 1349, the chorus is so fucking hooky that you kind of want another one or two of them in there.
Yeah.
But I did kind of feel, when listening to it though, it kind of stands out because it's one of the few tracks on the album that actually does that. And if I have more songs like that, maybe they become less remarkable. Production I mentioned's great. Songwriting's awesome. Yeah, is it different from anything you've heard before? No. I think they infuse enough blackened elements into it to kind of make it stand out a little bit more. But there are other bands in Norway that do this.
Yeah.
Covert Attack are a great example of a band that mixed that kind of black metal element with something a little bit more, in their case it's more 70s kind of stoner rock, is the meld there. They're doing it just with hardcore punk. So you could argue that maybe it's not the most original thing in the world, but without getting semantically lost in arguments about genre and style and delivery, I'm fully aware that I'm almost at the runtime of the album and just talking, which makes me feel quite happy. I couldn't pick holes in this at all. I thought front to back it was fucking great. And if he wants to do one of these every couple of years, I will fucking gobble that shit up. Yeah, it's There's not a bad song here. None of them overstay their welcome. None of them are, like I say, my gripes about maybe having a couple of more elements may take away from the very, 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 very fun listen it is. Fucking great. Yeah, well done. Like, turns out the guy behind some albums that recently have scored 5 stars from me is a great musician that can write other shit.
Yeah. Yeah, so like after hearing the debut album,
Right, so give me context. Debut album, you've obviously said lots of weird instrumentation. Is there a colossal shift in the music writing here, or is this kind of more
not
in line?
not really. I think that the debut album, I think it only, if I might be incorrect here, but I think there was only one track on it that had like that kind of like hooky kind of chorus on it.
Right.
So they have obviously kind of increased that a touch more on this album, but most of the same rules kind of apply, to be honest. It was like, it's got the punk, it's the grind, the hardcore. I'd say this one's maybe a little bit more focused in a few areas. I do think these tracks have a little bit more shape to them. It doesn't just feel like a let's play as fast and as hard as we can for a minute and then move on. I feel like these ones have more distinction between like verses and choruses, and I'd say there's definitely more attention to create a bit more of a hook on some of these tracks as well. And even though Ingvar isn't the main vocalist in Blood Command, you still can hear it coming through on this album as well. And definitely on the title track, you can hear it in that kind of melodic chorus that it's got, and also on the Party Like It's 1349 as well. But it hasn't been overused. So like the Blood Command comparisons are only like kind of dotted around very kind of minimally on the album, which I thought was cool. That aside, I do think the tracks on Blaze the Northern Sky are a bit more unique than the first album. I thought This Is Not a Record was cool. It maybe started to get a little bit repetitive in places. Whereas when I finished this, I think there was more had kind of stuck with me than the previous album. And I think that's just down to the kind of the quality moving up on this one. I think there's a bit more kind of catchiness in some of the riffs and the arrangements, which are obviously short, but there's a lot of interesting switch ups on this and tempos that are, that will kind of lure you back for more listens. They do kind of like cover everything here, like from that kind of like mid-paced kind of punk right through to grind with blast beat tempos and stuff. And often these tracks are jumping between that, throughout like a minute or a minute and a half. But what I really enjoyed about this was the kind of flow of it. If you listen to each track, there's almost like a feedback that kind of bleeds through into the next track. So it feels very live, to be honest. And like the end of each track, you'll hear the guitars ringing out. It just comes back in on the next track. So it never really slows down. There's never really a moment where like there's no real like interludes or anything like that. It just kind of keeps going for that full kind of 15 minutes. And yeah, there's a couple of tracks that are a little bit slower with more of a hook, but it still never really stops. I also think vocally, this album has a little bit more kind of variation, especially in his tone. Ingvar will give you stuff that goes from full rasp and full of kind of venom, like he does on the opener on North of Hell. And that track's got a little touch of the kind of like black stuff in the guitars, and you've got those kind of little bits of blasts coming in and stuff as well. But then on No Dogs No Masters, it kind of moves more into that kind of like hardcore type shout vocal that it does, and then you've got little bits of gang vocals coming in as well. And then you've got the melody, as I said before, kind of placed in a couple of places throughout the track, and his clean tone is really good. He's got great kind of intuition on where to go with melody and get the most out of it. I think he's really, really good at writing a melody and a really good hooky lyric to go with it that will have you kind of singing along. That title track, there's a register in the kind of backing vocals. It's quite a high register. And initially I was like, is that a female vocal? Is that? And then I was like, no, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a guy doing a really high voice. I'm not entirely sure, but it does, it has that kind of Blood Command kind of quality to it. But yeah, I thought it was very playful, like for as fully charged as this can be. There is a lot of fun to this and the song titles and the album artwork as well. But you can hear it in the music and a lot of the more kind of vocal kind of kind of playful kind of vocal lines as well. Plus you've got like a little sample in there as well at the beginning of I Am the Only Punk in the Village. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, this one. It's got the intensity, it's got the grit, but there's a couple of big hooks in there as well, just to, leave you with something a bit more infectious. Production is also really, really good. I think production on this feels better than the previous release, but we've known, that Ingvar has taken an involvement in that side of it in the past with these other bands, so I'm not entirely sure who the producer is, if it was him or if it was someone else, but I really enjoyed it. I thought the production had a ton of character to it, and I think that's exactly what you want from a kind of hardcore punk record. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. Really good album. Definitely another band that I'll be keeping an eye out for, doing more in the future. And I mean, the last release was only 2 years ago, so he just churns stuff out, this guy.
You get the feeling that he maybe doesn't have an off switch, this guy.
Yep. Scores for Blazed in the Northern Sky by Rat Lord. What are you thinking?
Oh, this is a 4-star album. They're like 4 every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
It delivers so much joy. It's short, snappy, right to the point. Like I say, he could literally do one of these every couple of years, and I will come back and check it out. I will go and check out that first album now, but I will not rest until I own the album artwork on a t-shirt.
I'll agree with you on that one. 4 out of 5 from me as well. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I think there's enough here that if you're into Blood Command, I think you could probably listen to this and enjoy it.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
Even if you're not, if you like something that's a bit more intense, a bit harder going, this will give you that as well. So that is the new album from Rat Lord, Blazed in the Northern Sky, out on August 30th on Loyal Blood Records. Links below to the band, Bandcamp, all that sort of stuff. Check it out, have a listen, see what you think. That is the review. Thank you for checking out, much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.